Hey everyone, I'm Christopher Au, one of the executive producers of Drive All Night. And on behalf of all of us, I'd like to thank you for watching our film here at Cinequest and welcome you to our Q&A. I'm here today with some special guests. We have Peter Hsieh, the writer, director, and producer of Drive All Night, Yutaka Takeuchi, who plays Dave, Lexy Hammonds, who plays Cara, and Johnny Gilligan, who plays Lenny. Congratulations to you all. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Peter, let's start with you. Tell us about the genesis of Drive All Night. What made you want to tell this story?
Well, I think it was probably around like 2015 or 16. I would go on a lot of like night drives by myself because I couldn't sleep, and usually that I would be writing and then driving and then thinking about writing at the time because I was writing, a different script. After a while, it kind of spurred Drive All Night, and then I kind of fleshed it out.
So Peter, this is your first feature film. What were some of the most challenging aspects of making it?
I don't know. I think a lot of it was new to me. I think definitely pre-production was a lot more paperwork than I had anticipated. Bringing people on board. I think the editing part, I think we actually spent like a year editing it, whereas the shoot was, I think that's only 12 days. So I think it's hard to pinpoint one thing that was particularly challenging, but I enjoyed the whole process.
I want to hear from some of the cast. I thought the casting was really incredible. Yutaka, you audiences recognize you from Marvel's The Defenders and other films. How did you get involved with this project, and what drew you to the character of Dave?
Peter approached me. That was 3 days after I started driving with Uber, because I was interested in doing that for a long time. I finally decided to do, as a side job, I started driving Uber. And 3 days later, he approached me through my manager and sent me the script, and I read it, and it's Taxi Driver. So, it was already like, I felt like, okay, this is kind of meant to be. And the day, I remember the day I finally signed on the contract was the anniversary of my father's passing. So I felt like, okay, there's no other, choices. I just have to do it. And so I did it. And that was really, I really, truly, I felt like, okay, this is meant to be. And I decided to do it. And so I kept driving with Uber, which, helped me driving. I do drive a car, but it's different when you have someone in the back and then drive and then driving by yourself. So it was helpful. And yeah, that's how I got involved in the first place.
Were there any parts of, the character of Dave that, just really resonated with you, that you really identified with?
Well, the Dave is not really, he says he's from here, the city, but obviously he's not. And me, obviously, I'm a foreigner here. So I came from the different culture, different cultural background, different country. So, it's, but still he is pretending to be someone from here. Yeah, I was able to relate to that aspect.
Yeah, for sure. Lexy, you're from England, and I know that you're there now.
Yes.
How did you become part of this project, and what drew you to play Cara?
So obviously I was living in Los Angeles up until December last year. COVID has created some restrictions for me, so I've had to temporarily move back. But at the time I was living in LA, and I received an email from Peter directly to my email, and it was just kind of introducing the script and kind of the character, and he had previously seen me in another indie movie which was surprising because I was like, did people see that movie? Like, who saw that movie? But he saw me in that movie where I was, a little mysterious, but not as kind of gritty and complex. But I guess he kind of felt that there was some similarities between the two characters, and he was interested in me perhaps taking on the role. So he sent me the script and just kind of asked if I would send a tape to him just to kind of see if it was a good match, if it was a good fit. And, I read the script and I got back to him like right away and was like, I think this is great. I love the dialogue. I love the plot line. It's gritty. It's a little dark. And I have never gotten a chance to kind of play that kind of role. Like I'm always seem to be playing the kind of comedic relief or like a little sassier characters. Nothing too deep. So, once we had a conversation and we kind of spoke about it and it'd been a couple weeks and he kind of told me we were moving forward, that's when I decided to be all in and be a part of the cast.
Yeah, so this film was shot in the San Francisco Bay Area, and Johnny, you're a local actor. How did you get involved with Drive All Night?
Yeah, just before that, I'm in a very un-Lenny, like I played Lenny, but I'm in my daughter's bedroom, so you see all these pictures. So this is like, I don't think this would be Lenny's typical room. Yeah, I think you emailed me directly. I've been kind of working as an actor in the Bay Area, and I think it was close to shoot time, and you were kind of like, okay, look, we have this role coming up. It might have even been a week before. So, we're shooting it soon.
Right.
What do you think? And I read the script, and I really liked Lenny's character. I think he's pretty damaged as a person, I think, like Lenny. And and I played video games when I was younger, and I still play a bit maybe. And so yeah, it was. And I liked the script. It had a fun aspect to it, and the aspect of Lenny that I kind of like most, kind of like maybe related to, was the competitive aspect of it. I'm pretty competitive. I played video games with my brother, and we would almost come to blows playing video games right, against each other. So that Lenny wanting to beat that high score and kind of being so like upset that his high score was beaten, I think. I don't know if I'm that competitive, but I'm pretty competitive.
So Peter, this did you shoot this primarily at night, or was some of the film shot during the day in the studio?
I think it was actually half and half. So we had about maybe like 4 overnight shoots, 3 in principal photography, 1 in post. And then a lot of the driving scenes we actually shot during the day. We shot it at a CrossFit gym that I used to go to. And it was basically the cheapest and darkest and largest place I can find. I needed some place to be able to park a car in and then set lighting rigs and projectors around. Yeah, so we actually shot a lot of the driving scenes were all projectors, projections, light tricks. And a lot of the other scenes, like that were shot inside locations, Redwall Studios, underground in Willow Glen. Those were shot during the day as well.
So I earlier in my career, I had done some worked on some film projects that shot dusk till dawn, and I know how just rigorous and challenging those shoots can be. I guess I want to hear from you, all of you guys. How did you keep your energy up and stay focused? At 3 a.m. Let's start with Yutaka.
How? I think I'm used to doing it. Once I decide to commit to the project, I can handle it. And then everyone else is working hard, so I just can't say I'm tired and I don't want to do it. I don't like that.
Yeah, Lexy, how about you? How was your experience shooting at night?
Well, my answer is completely different to that. I would take 4-hour naps before the shoot time so that I had enough sleep and before we had to kind of get through that maybe 8-9 hour like nighttime shoot. I would be continuously drinking coffee and eating some snacks just to keep the energy up. And let me think what else. If it wasn't coffee, it was Coca-Cola. It probably doesn't sound great, but you got to do what you got to do. And yeah, I mean, honestly, like I had such a good connection with a lot of the crew and a lot of the cast. So we would just kind of, on downtime while we're waiting for setups to finish, we would just kind of chat, keep the conversation going. So keeping ourselves like kind of awake and energized. But yeah, I didn't have too many issues staying awake. I think maybe towards the end, it was kind of like, okay, like need to get to sleep. But yeah, I would just make sure I would have my caffeine and have a little nap beforehand and good to go.
And Johnny, how about you? How was your experience on the night shoot?
Yeah, I mean, because it was got a couple of night shoots, and for me, it's I guess I'm not one of those actors that can kind of like that can just chat with the crew and laugh and joke, and then we go into the scene, and then okay, now go, right? I wish I was like that, but I'm not. So my process is kind of I just kind of stay to myself. And I kind of just I tell everybody up front, look, and it's not like nobody can look me in the eye, right? That kind of level, right? But it's more like I'm gonna stay kind of somewhat not in character. I don't walk around in character, but I just kind of like stay a bit to myself. And Lenny is intense. He's an intense character, so there's a low level of that intensity, or while I'm there. So, and I've had to, when I started my career as an actor, I would kind of like be very much in the character and waiting, so it could be hours, right? So if you stay in that intensity for hours, you're wrecked. And by the time by the time it comes to shoot, so I just have to sit, just sit and kind of maybe just stay calm, and and just think about maybe the character, think about what I'm going to do, and then but I can't rest, I can't sleep. So it's something I have to watch, especially with kind of intense characters like Lenny. But look, we're getting to do what we dream of doing. I think that like the last thing I'm going to do is start complaining, right? So I think you for all our roles, right? There's a lot of actors that audition for roles and they don't get anything. It's a tough business, right? So I'm happy to be there, and I try to be appreciative and stay humble, and yeah. So I enjoyed it. I mean, it's you're playing, right? You get to play a different character, right? And it's fun.
See, Peter, I know
Mhm.
that there is a Drive All Night mobile game available for iOS and Android. How did that come about?
All right. So the executive producer, Sam, I think a few years ago, I worked on a different like mobile game project of his called Rift Legion Wars. I did like the story writing, stuff like that, collaborating with the artist. And for Drive All Night, we really, I think what he really liked the world that was kind of created and like the possibilities, right? And obviously, since it's a low budget indie film, we have like a lot of restrictions for the storytelling. And then so with this mobile game, we kind of we explore kind of like the what ifs, like the what's what Cara's doing when Dave parks the car and she goes off, or like what's Boss like, 'cause we don't get to see much of Vaughn. He's like a specter, a vision in the film, right? And then like what would happen if Cara and Lenny were to go head to head, right? And so the mobile game is quite different in kind of tone and feel from the movie, as it is like a third person hack and slash your way through levels stuff kind of but I think it kind of like it adds to the world of it. I think it's pretty fun.
Right. I think one of the things that I really like about the film is just the style and the cinematography. Peter, can you tell us about some of your cinematic influences?
Yeah. So I think going into the film, I really liked stuff of kind of Gasparino, a lot of his like super saturated, really colorful stuff. I really like Nicholas Winding Refn's work on particularly Only God Forgives, and then Neon Demon. I thought was cool. The Too Old to Die Young, and I'm a big fan of his film Drive, which I think is what he's most known for. And then kind of like when I talked with William Helmuth, the cinematographer, kind of we talked about kind of those influences. I think he was also talking about like stuff that like Wong Kar-wai did, like the Hong Kong cinema, and we wanted to kind of bring this kind of like mix of like dark and gritty, and then kind of like saturated colors and neon lights and stuff.
Peter, one question I have is, from the script to the screen, like how different is it to your vision? Were there any changes that were made?
Yeah, there were a lot of changes actually. Part of the reason is because I think from script to even the shooting part of it, there were some changes I knew I wanted to make based on how certain scenes played out and stuff. And then I also reordered a bunch of the scenes in editing, because when you're editing, it's like you're getting another shot at making the film, right? And I think some of the most major changes were one that I took out quite a lot of scenes, right? Almost the first cut was about 2 hours 10 minutes, and this final one's like 93 minutes. A lot of it was I wanted to maintain the mystery and almost have an even more fractured stream of conscious narrative, right? Kind of like a neo-noir fever dream that really is like a fever dream, right? Inconclusive, without like a definitive end. And I think the other major change, for those of you who have seen the film, I'm assuming if you're watching at Cinequest, you have, is that I had another ending in mind where, I guess I can say it's where you're at the for first you see Cara being driven to the airport by Frank, who's played by Will Springhorn. He does a hilarious actor, really great job. And then you see Dave kind of sitting on the roadside, and he's thinking about Morgan, right? And she waves, but he drives off. And the very final scenes at the airport, and Kara's waiting there, to board, and she turns and she sees something and she smiles, and then it ends. But I kind of like the way it ends in the film. It's a little more mysterious. It's a little more, not, I don't want to say inconclusive, because there is an obvious choice there, but I felt like it made more sense.
Are there other kind of stories that you guys want to share from your time on set, or different things that would be interesting, you think, for audiences to hear?
Sure, I can start off with something.
Cool.
So just like kind of with Cara, she obviously is kind of this badass who is going around kind of doing all of these mysterious things, getting Dave to drive her. And one of the scenes is actually a couple of scenes is with like a samurai sword. I'm not actually sure what the correct term is of the sword, but that was a challenge, because I am extremely goofy and like not someone that you will see in a fight ever. Like I avoid violence and stuff at any cost, because I'll lose. Let's just be real. But obviously in this scenario, she had to be the one that was tough and a fighter and stuff. And I remember me and Peter were in like a kind of basement studio area where they have like an office, and we were doing it for like an hour or two of him just trying to show me how just to take the sword out of the holder. Like it was I wish you guys could have been there. Like it looks great in the film, like I'm glad we got that, but at first I was like, Peter, I don't think we're gonna get this. But yes, that's one of my little stories about the film.
That's awesome. Yutaka or Johnny, do you guys have any stories that you want to share?
I remember the first day when I went onto the set. The Peter pulled me out of the room, and he said what is it? There's something like he wanted me to trust him as the director, and he did you did some what did you do? You did something.
I think I like guided you blind around an obstacle or something.
But I was already, in the project. I already decided to commit it, so it wasn't much to me. But
Yeah.
I mean, I already trusted you as soon as I decided to. But that was interesting. He pulled me out. And,
I want to hear more about this. So was Yutaka blindfolded, and then how did you guide him through this obstacle, Peter?
You know what? I think so we built part of our set, so we had a lot of like stuff lying around, right? So I just told him to close his eyes and not open them, and have me guide him through this obstacle, and that was it. It was
just based on your verbal directions.
Just based on my verbal directions. I want to see if he'd open his eyes or not. Like, I mean, I obviously trusted him as an actor, but I think him and I need to vibe on like that extra level of blind faith, and that the script, the film itself is quite weird, quite complex, quite layered. It's you're never gonna have all the answers. So.
Yeah, that was also another thing. Like at some point I really had to give up on trying to visualize what this movie is gonna look like, because it was really the entire thing was in his head, and he was directing, and he was giving me ideas and pictures, but still it was so difficult for me to picture the entire thing. So at some point I gave up and trying to visualize myself, and instead completely, I mean, I was trusting him already as a director, but I try not to think about the outcome anymore, and then completely trusted him. I mean, his style. This is his first feature film, and it turned out to be good, which I'm really glad.
Johnny, how about you? Any great stories?
Well, I don't know about stories, but a couple of things. I want to shout out to Von Scott Baer, who played Boss in the movie. He's another Bay Area actor. He's a friend of mine. He's in a writers group with me too. But he did a great job. And then there's one thing that kind of like when we came back, I think we did a couple of reshoots a few months later, and one was in one we shot in a restroom at Peter's work, and I remember thinking at the time, okay, well, we'll do this scene. I didn't really know how it was going to fit in, but I remember now when I see the movie, just that scene, I think there's a humanity and almost a vulnerability to Lenny in that scene, and I think it looks nice. It looks so nice too, and it's a very, very short scene, but I think that scene, I think when people watch the movie, I think adds another layer to Lenny, right? Because there was a few other scenes where he's kind of like he's the bad guy, kind of, right? But this scene, you kind of see a bit of the pain or the vulnerability that's there, because he's on his own. He doesn't need to, and he looks in the mirror, and you just, when you see the movie, I think it's a nice scene. All right, that's
definitely.
What where else can audiences see you guys, and what are you guys working on now? Let's start with Yutaka.
Currently, I mean, I have been writing my own screenplay for the first time, based on a real person. I met this guy in Japan, and then I talked to him, and he has such an extraordinary life, and I am writing a story based on this guy. And it's like I really have a huge respect for writers, directors now, more than before. It's such a intense and long process to keep going, and so I hope I can finish the writing as soon as possible and start producing it. And yeah, that's what I have been working on.
That's awesome. Johnny, I know that you're a writer also. Can you tell us more about what you're writing and working on?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm writing a bunch of TV pilots. One of them kind of the Bay Area one. My first pilot actually, I found this website called thelastmile.org that teaches coding to inmates in San Quentin prison, and then helps those inmates get jobs in Silicon Valley. And I've got a story about a bunch of those guys that set up a startup and go up against like Facebook. I just like the idea of putting those guys in the same room as Mark Zuckerberg. So I have a profile on coverfly.com. You just look at my name, Johnny Gilligan, Coverfly. I have a bunch of scripts up there, and I'm meeting managers right now, but I've done well in some competitions, and so yeah, that's kind of been my focus while we've been kind of here on doing COVID. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Congratulations on your success.
Thanks, man.
Lexy, how about you? What have you been working on? Where can audiences see you next?
Sure, yeah. So I actually recently found out that the series that I filmed, it was actually a couple of years ago, it's called Crazy Love. It's actually on Hulu. So that's exciting. So that series is on Hulu, so anyone can go see me in that. I have like a recurring guest star in it. So I'm in a couple episodes. And then aside from that, I'm in a film called Beg, Borrow, and Steal, which is on Amazon Prime. And in terms of what I'm doing now, honestly, it's been a little chaotic because I've recently just returned back to the UK. So I'm sort of transitioning into the business here. So just given that we're on a full national lockdown, we're not really going out and seeing anybody or auditioning. So it's a little on pause for me, but as soon as things kind of get a little lighter over here, I'm going to be approaching UK agents and starting to audition and get back into work. I do have one film in the pipeline that got put on pause for the same reasons. It's something called The Mystery of Casa Matacita. It's kind of like a psychological thriller, has a couple names in it. And that will be exciting when we get to it. It's going to be filming in Peru, but right now it's definitely on hold.
Great. I'll have to check out your Hulu show. That's exciting.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
And Peter, what's next for you? What are you working on?
Well, I've my feature screenplay Super Turbo Overdrive. It's been doing well on the screenplay competition circuits. I've won a few awards. I've actually secured part funding for it, but I'm looking to get it funded, and I want that to be my next feature film. I want to start shooting it soon. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a teen comedy, action comedy, kind of a mix between like American Pie and Akira, right? So I think it's unique. It's cool, and yeah, I've got a few studios interested, but no one committed yet. So studios, if you are watching this, hit me up.
It's been really fun getting to see you guys and all like interact and share stories from your time on set, which was about a year ago, right? It's been a year since.
A little over a year, I think.
Over a year, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was August and November 2019, was it?
Yeah, that was like the end of pickups, November.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Yeah, and so yeah, I look forward to sort of more conversations with you guys at other festivals on the Drive All Night Festival tour. But yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Really great catching up with everybody.
yeah, and thanks to Cinequest and everybody that watched the movie. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you to everyone out there who watched the film. It means a lot to all of us that we could be part of this festival and to share this film with audiences here. If you liked the film, please tell your friends about it. Drop a rating and review on IMDb and follow us on social media. We're at Drive All Night on Facebook and Instagram. And so please continue to follow us for updates on when Drive All Night will be available next. And if you hadn't had a chance to download the mobile game, please do. It's free and it's available on iOS and Android. Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure being here.